Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, the USDA releases its much anticipated planted acreage report.
You can grow your own vegetables and in less space than you think. We'll have a report from the Beaumont Vegetable Field Day.
In southern gardening, there seems to be nothing like rain to help plants. We'll show you how to make a rain barrel.
In the markets, increased corn acreage is now expected by the USDA, while pondbank catfish prices continue to rise.
In the feature segment, Farm Week's 33rd anniversary. Could you believe we've been around this long? That may be my son.
Feed report. The number of cattle placed on feed during January was 1% under last year, a little negative in the market's eyes.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture released its June planted acreage report on Thursday morning.
Late the USDA increased the corn acreage figure over last year. Many had thought there would be a decrease considering the rain-delayed planting in the Midwest and the flooding along the Mississippi River. Now, this report reflects conditions as of the first 2 weeks of June. As we look at corn for grain, in the U.S., 84.9 million acres predicted. That's up 4% from last year. In Mississippi, 820,000 acres planted. That's up 7.5% from last year, about 150,000 acres. U.S. soybeans, 75.2 million acres. That's down 3% from last year. Mississippi, 1,830,000 acres. That's down 8.5% from the year before. Upland cotton, 13.7 million acres planted. That's up 25% from 2010. In Mississippi, 600,000 acres planted. That's up a whopping 43% or 180,000 acres from last year. U.S. rice, 2.7 million acres, down 26%. So we may be seeing some of the effects of flooding here and in Arkansas. Mississippi, only 185,000 acres of rice. That's down 39% from last year. U.S. peanuts, 1.15 million acres planted. That's down 10% from last year. In Mississippi, 18,000 acres planted. That's down 5% or 1,000 acres. U.S. sweet potatoes, 132,000 acres, 600 acres planted. That's up 11% from last year. Mississippi, 22,000 acres planted. That's up 5% or 1,000 acres. U.S. winter wheat, 41.1 million acres was planted. That was up 10% from the previous year. Here in Mississippi, a big increase for us, 340,000 acres planted. That was up 172% compared with the previous year.
Growing your own vegetables at home could be less hassle than you think. Visitors at the recent Beaumont Vegetable Field Day, hosted by Mississippi State University Extension, learned how to produce enough daily nutrition for an average-sized family. Extension specialists also encourage anyone with something unusual growing in the landscape or garden to bring it to one of the MSU Research and Extension Centers. Farm Week's Amy Taylor has this story.
As going green in the garden becomes more popular, so does the idea of growing your own vegetables. Visitors at the Vegetable Field Day held at Mississippi State University Beaumont Horticulture Unit learned how that can be done. David Nagel, MSU Extension Vegetable Specialist, says it can be easier than it seems.
We figured out if you can get a plot of land 100 feet by 100 feet, and if you will put it into continuous vegetable production, you can put enough vegetables for a family of 4 to serve 5 servings a day off of 100 feet by 100 feet.
Nagel says your MSU County Extension Service office has plenty of tips and advice for growing healthy vegetables. In addition, he says you never know when something interesting or unusual could appear in the garden.
An older gentleman by the name of Shoemake found yellow watermelons growing his watermelon patch about 10 years ago. And he selected seed and he grew them out, and about 2.5, 3 years ago he brought them to the station here at Beaumont and wanted to know how he could commercialize this.
Unfortunately, Nagel says they had no luck commercializing yellow watermelons, but they could be grown for a different purpose.
If folks really want to have watermelons in their landscape and have something that makes a pretty ground cover. It's kind of what we call a dual-use crop.
Nagel encourages anyone who finds a plant that seems different or unique to get in touch with their MSU County Extension office. From Beaumont, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Let's check on Mississippi's weekly crop report now from the Mississippi Ag Statistics Service in Jackson. Planting is virtually complete, but crop condition finds little of the state's crops actually up in that excellent category. This does reflect conditions as of Sunday. As we look at topsoil moisture in the state, adequate in 47% of Mississippi, but it is 52% of the state is in the short to very short category. As we look at Mississippi corn, 28% of the crop is in the dough stage, which is close to the 5-year average. In terms of condition, 39% of the crop in good to excellent shape, but 29% in poor to very poor shape. Mississippi soybeans, we see that the crop emergence is about on track, but it is young. Blooming is only running at 38% as of this time. As we look at Mississippi's soybean conditions, 62% of the crop in good to excellent shape. Mississippi rice running on average with 2% of the crop headed. In terms of conditions, 63% of the crop in good to excellent shape. Mississippi cotton, we see that all of it has emerged. 59% of it is squaring, which is about on track, but we see that in terms of setting bolls, the crop is running a little behind at 1%. Mississippi cotton, in terms of condition, 66% of the crop, 2/3, is in good to excellent shape, which is better than we might have expected at this point. Mississippi peanuts, 19% of the crop is pegging as of Sunday. In terms of condition, 2/3 of the crop there as well in the good to excellent category, but most of it in the good category. So we look at Mississippi sweet potatoes, 90% of the crops planted as of the 26th, and that is ahead of the 5-year average. In terms of condition, half of the crop is in good to excellent shape, but with the majority in the good condition. Mississippi watermelons, harvest there is running behind, 23% complete as of June 26, and the average is 34%. Well, it seems that everything in a garden looks so good after a rain. Well, in this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman will show us how to save some of the rain using a rain barrel.
Have you ever noticed how much better your plants look after a rain and wish you could save some of that precious rainwater? Maybe you could use a rain barrel. Garden water usage can increase as much as 50% in the summer months. Rain barrels collect and store rainwater for use in dry periods that would otherwise be lost. There are quite a few commercial models available, but they are also easy for the homeowner to build. All you need are a food-grade barrel, a spigot, insect screen, and a few fittings. Stephanie Pendleton from the Jackson County Extension Service office will show you how to build your own rain barrel. First, drill a hole for the spigot about 8 inches from the barrel bottom and screw the spigot into the hole. Drill a hole a couple of inches from the top for the overflow fitting. Place the insect screen on top and screw the top ring back on. Use gutter and downspout fittings to redirect water to the rain barrel. Place the empty barrel on a couple of cinder blocks to elevate so you can fill your watering can. If you are interested in building your own rain barrel, contact your local Mississippi State University Extension Service office for more information. Saving rainwater is always beneficial, whether you're watering a single plant or your entire garden. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says a rain barrel is a great way to conserve water and keep your plants happy. In our feature segment today, Layton, Farm Week celebrated its 33rd anniversary last October. It's hard to believe it's lasted this long. Time with the markets with Layton, and a lot of traders, Layton, you say, were positioning themselves ahead of the June 30 reports.
That's right, and now that those numbers are out, we're going to find out how the new numbers are going to impact supply-demand longer term. Also had a larger U.S. hog herd may hurt producer prices in the pork sector, as U.S. catfish prices at the pond bank continue to climb. Thursday morning, the acreage and grain stocks reports from the USDA came out. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley has been poring over the numbers during the 3 hours between the release time and our record time, and here's his analysis. John Michael, let's talk about the surprise that we had in the acreage report regarding the corn plantings.
We did. Corn plantings came in higher than expected, 1.5 million acres higher than the pre-analyst expectation, and also higher than the June World Ag Supply and Demand report that USDA projection on acreage. It actually came in just a touch higher than the prospective plantings report, which came out in March. So quite a surprise there in the corn market, especially given the thought that due to the weather, due to the rain that was being experienced through the Corn Belt and the flooding that has been taking place here in Mississippi and elsewhere in the nation, there was this expectation that there was going to be some corn acres lost. It appears, though, that producers put the pencil to the paper and saw that corn was still worthwhile to go ahead and take a chance on and get that seed in the ground.
And you tell me the market reaction so far in these first 3 hours or so since the report, we've had a tumble in prices.
Yeah, it's been quite gloom and doom in the corn pit today. Down limit is for the most part across most contracts. So yeah, the report is being digested, and it's quite a rough day there in Chicago.
So do you expect corn prices to continue down here? We're just about to starting a new month, July here.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, my guess is just as good as any. But I think that this report is quite a bit of a shock, and we could continue to see somewhat of a downtrend. But I think long-term picture, when you put these numbers into the balance sheet for corn, we're still looking at a really tight supply situation. You know, somewhere in the 7 to 7.5% stocks to use if you put this acreage number in, and so that's still pretty tight. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind as we digest this report.
Now, we also had the grain stocks report on Thursday. Now, that was bearish for corn as well.
That's right. The market was expecting somewhere in just above 3 billion bushels of corn in stock, and it came in at 3 1/3 billion bushels. So not only higher than expectation, but even outside the high range on that expectation. So yeah, that just adding insult to injury there.
And turning to soybeans very quickly, kind of a different picture compared to corn. Let's begin with the acreage number.
That's correct. A little bit higher than the expected in terms of the pre-analyst expectation, about 1.3 million acres higher. But if we look to the grain stocks report, that number was actually a little higher than expected. So there appears to be more soybeans in stock, but the acreage number came in a little bit lower than expected.
Thursday's report also answered a major question as far as another commodity. That question, how much long grain rice acreage was lost due to the flooding in Arkansas and Mississippi? Some trades had reported a feeling that up to 200,000 acres or more didn't get planted even before the major flood, or that if it did get planted, it was much later than normal. Well, the average price of diesel fuel drops even more as summer gets in full swing. Last week alone, it fell 6 cents per gallon, hitting its lowest level in almost 4 months. The U.S. Energy Administration reported that the average price of diesel was $3.88 per gallon for the week ending June 27th. That is the 7th decline in the last 8 weeks. Moving over to the trivia quiz for the week, it is about cattle, so let's take a look. What is the top cattle-producing county in Mississippi? Your choices are Chickasaw, Hinds, Walthall, or Covington. I'll tell you that answer coming up.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the second part of the markets. Leighton Spann reports the nation's hog herd is larger while farm-raised catfish prices are up. In the feature segment today, Farm Week celebrated its 33rd anniversary last fall. A lot of things have changed, but not our commitment.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed in farm tractor accidents. Transporting and lifting objects with a front loader requires extreme caution. Unsecured objects can roll or slide down the loader arms and injure the driver. To help prevent injuries, tractors should be equipped with a falling objects protection system. Always secure loads or use a bale spear or straps before lifting objects. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. Mississippi State University will hold 2 white-tailed deer management short courses this summer. The first will be Saturday, July 23rd. The cost is $95. That includes lunch, a t-shirt, and your educational materials. You'll find out about the factors that influence antler size and how different harvest methods affect it. There are different methods for spikes and bucks. The first location is Northwest Community College at Senatobia. Registration is limited to the first 70 people, and we will have a link on the Farm Week calendar to help you register. The same workshop will take place the following weekend, Saturday, July 30th. The location there will be the College of Forest Resources building on the main campus of Mississippi State University in Starkville. Now, once again, registration is limited to 70 people at each site, so please register ahead of time. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this Farm Week snapshot.
USDA's quarterly hogs and pigs report on June 24th shows the U.S. herd was a little larger than expected. One analyst says this factor may weigh on cash and futures prices over the next few months. Purdue University ag economist Chris Hurt points to the 3% increase in the 120 to 179 pound supply. Hurt says this probably provides a little bit more pork coming to the marketplace over the next 3 to 4 months. He does acknowledge that price direction could depend more on trade and the national economy since the increase was relatively small. Well, switching to cattle, some analysts are concerned about what they term uncertain areas of the beef market these days. Traders agree demand is good, with the 4th of July retail side providing support. However, analyst Jamie Kohaki says that short term, in his opinion, you've got to be a hedger in this market because of all the unknowns.
Supply is still very, very tight. Fundamentals remain strong out there into next year. But I think short term, if you can get a break even and lock in a profit, I think you hedge it. There's way too many uncertain areas out there that have influences on cattle. Unemployment, how the S&P, Dow trade every day, way too many spillover factors that could pull this thing back down in no time at all.
The June U.S. catfish processing report indicates that prices for producers are continuing to climb. The average pondback price being paid to U.S. producers during May was $1.17 per pound. Now that is 37 cents per pound higher than it was a year ago. Farm sales totaled over 24 million pounds round weight, a decrease of 35% from May 2010. Processor sales were over 12.5 million pounds. That is down 34% from 1 year ago. Well, our time for the markets is winding down, so we'll move to the answer for this week's trivia quiz now. The first choice, A, is the correct one. Chickasaw County ranks first in the number of all cattle and calves in Mississippi. The total in January, according to the National Ag Statistics Service, was 49,500 head.
Last fall on October 3rd, Farm Week celebrated its 33rd anniversary. It appeared for the first time in 1977 on Mississippi Public Broadcasting. I think it's safe to say no one would have thought it would go on for this long. It's outlasted everything from Bonanza to Gunsmoke. For those of you who are not familiar with Farm Week, or for those who have watched for 33 years, here's a little background.
Hello and welcome to Farm Week. I'm Bruce Johnson with the Cooperative Extension Service, and this week we explore two very interesting topics.
Agriculture was undergoing a time of great growth when the first Farm Week was aired on Monday, October 3rd, 1977. The Mississippi Legislature called on Mississippi Educational Television and the Mississippi State University Extension Service to develop a show. The purpose was to use television as a way to quickly communicate news and information to Mississippi's agricultural and forestry community. Bruce Johnson was Farm Week's first host.
It was disclosed last week that the Farm Bureau President, Alan Grant, led a delegation to Libya early in May to work out the sale of Libyan oil.
Mike Wyndham handled the commodity markets.
November soybeans closed the week at a slight increase, $6.91 a bushel Friday. And there's more good news. This time,
one of the most familiar faces to Farm Week viewers is that of Tyson Gare. Gare worked for Farm Week for 12 years, 10 of those as an anchor.
And I'm Tyson Gare. Welcome to this week's edition of Farm Week. In the news, snow, sleet, ice, and cold temperatures are taking their toll on Mississippi agriculture. It appears
the rumor that Johans might resign. This reporter first came to Farm Week in 1983. I went on to anchor the University of Georgia's agricultural news show for 2 years in the late 1980s. I returned to Farm Week as its managing editor in 1989.
Cattle on feed report. The number of cattle placed on feed during January was 1% under last year, a little negative in the market's eyes.
Van Zyberden is primarily a wholesale distributor, but they're also very interested.
Leighton Spann, the newest addition to the Farm Week anchor team, is no longer new. He's been with Farm Week since 1994, following 16 years in commercial news broadcasting. The newest member of the Farm Week crew is Amy Taylor. This University of Southern Mississippi graduate joined Farm Week in January 2007. Amy, I understand it was another record breaker.
Thank you, Artis. Yes, slightly more than $279,000 was bid in this year's sale.
Farm Week is produced each week by the Mississippi State University Extension Service through the Office of Agricultural Communications. For 14 years, the studio portion of Farm Week was produced in the studios of Mississippi Public Broadcasting in Jackson. In October 1991, production moved to the University Television Center of Mississippi State University.
Good music, yes. Welcome to downtown Nashville, the Nashville Convention Center.
And the Corn Growers Classic. We're here at the National.
Technological advances have made it possible for Farm Week to move out of the studio. MSU's mobile satellite truck allows remote productions to take place from national agricultural meetings in major U.S. cities. The first live remote broadcast of Farm Week took place in 1993 from the Beltwide Cotton Conferences in New Orleans.
Canal Street, we're here on the second floor. It's a big night for Farm Week tonight. Our first live remote broadcast coming to you via the satellite truck of Mississippi State University, and we're just excited to be here. It's a big night for us, and it's a big meeting.
I tell you, Artis, it's really exciting. There are a lot of folks from all over the world, really, representing several countries, and the Mid-South is
in June of 2001, there was another Farm Week first. It marked the first Farm Week produced from a farm, the Billy Walker Farm at Sunnyside, northwest of Greenwood. Yes, pardon the pun, we were outstanding in our field for at least one day.
Hello, I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week once again, and here we are.
Farm Week's success is due to people working together. It takes the expertise of extension specialists and experiment station researchers. It also takes the diligence of many behind the scenes, whether they run a copy machine or a tape machine. Each job is important. The focus of Farm Week has changed through the years. More information is given now on land management, such as tree farming and creating wildlife habitat.
Because it looked horrible 23 years ago. There was 6-foot washes in here then. All of those are closed up. We found one little washout, which we're trying to get the timber crew to put some tops in to fill in that, but I mean, it's a beautiful piece of property now.
Crepe myrtles have been called the lilacs of the South.
Home horticulture has increased dramatically in popularity. That's how Southern Gardening with Norman Winter came to be. It first aired in 1996 with Norman as its host.
If you're looking for a good vine for your fence or gazebo, then you need to consider the evergreen red wisteria.
14 years later, in 2010, Dr. Gary Bachman of the Mississippi State University Extension Service took over the Southern Gardening reins.
And flexible creations of nature with the solid and constructed forms from skilled hands. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Farm Week.
Another way Farm Week has changed is the internet. If you have a television show, you have to have a website to go along with it. The Farm Week website first appeared in 2001. You can get contact information on news stories and events and watch Farm Week feature stories.
They're doing something a little different.
It's the feature stories that have kept Farm Week on the air after 30 years. The subjects are the ones who have invited us to visit and allowed us to share their experiences with the Farm Week audience. Many have said if appearing on Farm Week will help someone else, they will do it.
I have told everybody I run into my expense, no telling how many times. And just for the fact that I like to see these people get there, they raise the timber and everything, I'd like to see them get paid for it.
The biggest reason Farm Week is on the air is you, the viewer. If no one watched, Farm Week would not be on the air. Be sure to tell us what you like and what you don't like. It's one way of making sure Farm Week remains something worth watching.
I'm Leighton Spann. Thank you for being with us tonight.
I'm Artis Ford. We'll see you next week.
And you can watch this story again on our Farm Week website, farmweek.msucares.com. You can also find us on YouTube. Look for the search box, type in Farm Week as one word with quotation marks, and you will find us. So Leighton, you've been here 17 years. 17 years
Mid-July will
now.
mark 17. Hard to believe, though.
Southern Gardening will be 15 years old this year, this fall. It is hard to believe, but you know, we like to have real people on. I think that's why Farm Week has still made it, because we have people out there that are doing things, and that means something if you're also out there doing that same thing as well. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, the Farm Aid Concert celebrated its 25th anniversary last fall.
It started back in the mid-1980s when the U.S. farm economy was hammered by low prices and high interest rates. Farm Aid is still going strong as it supports organizations that help family farmers to survive and thrive.
In Southern Gardening next week, find out how to get started with daylilies and make them thrive. If you'd like to get in touch with us to suggest a story idea, call us. That's Farm Week, Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762, and that phone number is 662-325-2262. You can also contact us through your Mississippi State University Extension Service office. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching us this year and all these many years. We'll be back next week.